and recently just flashed up our learning intention for the day, and we're really focusing on what does it mean to engage community? What does it mean? What is meaningful community engagement? What does that look like? And hopefully we're going to see a pretty amazing example of that in a moment from Hayden. No pressure, but we've seen it, so we know it is pretty amazing. And but before we do that, I just wanted to focus us a little bit on the different research and different models and frameworks that there are around with regard to this concept of co-designing and ultimately sharing power with community. Often traditionally, the service sector has been very doing for, and I know that I'm preaching to the converted when I'm talking like that, because you guys know that that's traditionally the way that the service sector has operated, and schools and the early years have not been all that different either. Although perhaps a bit ahead of the bell curve early years and schools in a sense, because they've always had such close connections with families. But other services that you've heard, all of the million types of services and programs on offer here at King, perhaps weren't always particularly health, maybe not always so collaborative in their delivery. And so we've got up here one model, which is just calling out, and it is a bit of corporate sort of language, so let's just put that to one side a little bit, because we are in the community sector, obviously, and this is really about dealing with people and children and families. But it just gives us this idea to think that it is a process, that it's, you know, as I think Kim and Kylie were saying before, you know, we don't just land in a community and tell them, right, we're here and this is writing it on your white horse of what you're going to offer them. And hopefully none of us are down this bottom end of coercing anybody to try and do anything, but you know, that can sometimes feel the case when you're, particularly if you are bound by program service agreements and KPIs and funding agreements and so forth, and pilots that you have to prove your worth. You know, you're trying to engage people in programs just so you can show, look, it's needed. So it can feel like that. And then all the way up through, obviously, informing people about services and consulting with community, and sort of going in, flying in, I suppose, and asking people what they want, but then taking it away and designing it yourselves is obviously a long way from the coercing bottom end of the scale, but then right through to co-designing, which I think we're going to hear about this morning with Hayden, and what's involved in being able to do that and make that happen in communities. And it's, I'm sure we're all aware it's not easy, and it's not a linear process. That's a lovely straight up and down line, but we know life's not like that either. So we might just...
I wonder, before we move on, whether it's worth asking people either for a minute silently, or if you'd like to share, that'd be really great as well. And online people, we can put you up on the big screen. Maybe this is what's putting people off when I say if they'd like to share, that I keep telling them that they're being made big on a big screen. We don't have to, you can share without that. Where do you think you are in your service on that continuum? How do you know, what's your reflection?
And you might be with certain programs or certain parts of the community on different parts of that as well. So maybe with new mums, you're totally all over it and you've been working really collaboratively, and they've been co-delivering programs with you for a long time, but maybe working with men in your centre, in your site, is something where you're just at the beginning of that journey.
Just on a side note, will we get a copy of the slides?
Sure. We might, does anybody want to briefly share anything? We will have a lot more time afterwards to really properly reflect on this. So if people would like to jump in, please feel free, knowing that I can't really see you very well, so just start talking. Anybody online?
Alex, I've just put on there that unfortunately we're often doing two. Occasionally,
So sorry, could you speak up a little bit?
Oh, sorry. It's Grace from City Whittlesea.
Hi.
Hi. We're often doing two, just way the funding works. Occasionally we ask for doing four, but we'd be loving to go to really doing with.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Grace, and being so genuine and open. Yeah, because that's right. Often funding and program and governments and all of those stakeholders that hold the purse strings and the power often are dictating that sort of a situation.
It's a bit challenging that educating is next to coercing.
Yeah.
Thinking about some of the programs that we run on that are educational programs, parenting programs, and it is education that we try and make it. It's not. I would like it to be doing with.
Yep.
So we're thinking health.
Yeah.
So we're thinking health, and it's completely doing too.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think the source of 99% sure this was used by Dr. Tim Moore at the Murdoch Children's Research Institute when he did it. He used this, and I've got this from a different presentation that he did for us, and so it was a very health orientated. And I think I'm thinking of some of the teachers that we've got online, as in the people who have a pure education background and then working in early years education. And I think, and I might even dub Ebony in if she'd like to come off mute. I think, we might take offence at educating being in the done to column.
I
Are
wonder.
you going to rise to my bait, Ebony?
But that's what I felt challenged.
Yeah. I think that's a really good call out.
I think that my reflection on what they're meaning by that is you go from, come on, you need this thing, community, coercing, to educating, you know what, there is this stuff and this could be useful and this could be helpful, and as opposed to traditional education. But I hear what you're saying too. Absolutely, it's still offering something out too, isn't it? Yeah.
So I can speak. Sorry, Erin, I was on a phone call, so I didn't hear the whole conversation. But
looking at the screen either, so I was really just volunteering you blind there.
No, I think that it's a good point, and I think that it depends on what kind of stance we're taking around what we're talking about education. Because education should be a two-way street, whereas in this ladder of participation, we're really saying if it's doing two, it's about the person who holds the power, in this case, the teacher, the educator, telling families that this is what's happening. This is we're telling you, we're informing you, we're educating you on this matter. But it really, it should be that two-way street in terms of education. And it made me think of the National Quality Standard. And, we know that one of the exceeding themes is meaningful engagement with families and communities. So to get to that exceeding level, which we know reduces developmental vulnerability for children when we are meeting those exceeding themes, it's about the key word there is meaningful. It's not about us doing two. It's not about that one-way street. It's about listening to families and then acting on that in our practice and changing our practice as a result of that engagement with families.
Very articulately put, Ebony, thank you. We might just I think that's a good segue to just go to the next slide. Are we on this one? Okay. Oh. Sorry, I think we had another one in there, but anyway, thank you. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. So we are about to hear from Hayden, and this was something I just was hoping people might keep in mind. These things that are on the screen at the moment, these come from, again, from the Centre for Community Child Health and a report there around a model called the Family Partnership Model that we work really closely to, we hope to, and advocate for, which is trying to do and be exactly what Ebony was saying there, meaningful engagement. And there is a lot of evidence that that is when change in communities really happens. And I know I'm preaching to the converted again, but I'm also conscious that it's very easy to say, oh, we want to do this and this is we know it works, and being meaningful and listening to, but how do we do that? What's the process of that? What are the qualities that are needed? And so these are some qualities that have been identified through research that are really helpful. Now, helper, I think, is often a tricky word now. We don't like to say, oh, we're helping you, we're helping community. That sounds very patronising. But I like to think of these as, when they say helper qualities and helper skills, they are the skills and qualities that help us as staff or people working or volunteering in these services that are helpful to us to enable that really meaningful community engagement and partnership and sharing of power with them. So I'll just let you reflect on those for a moment. And if you've got a pen and paper, and we've got some in the room here, and if you've got something to note down on, everybody got something?
Oh,
Sorry.
Your post-it notes work better for you too. Oh, that's fine too. Just whilst we're listening to Hayden's story, it'd be great if people would reflect on what are you hearing in this, and are there any of these qualities that you noticed in the story, and does it trigger any memories or thoughts about your own practice and what you do in your sites? And yeah, we'll come back to have a chat about it and a reflection. But I think I've mentioned his name so many times, I can't not pull you up now, Hayden. So Hayden Esperon, is that how you say it?
Yes,
Yep.
well done, first time impressive.
Men's support worker here at King. Is
Correct.
that your name? Your title? Yep.
Yep.
And I think we've just got, Erin's just got some of your slides to put on in a minute.
That's fine. I'll take it from here.
Get going. I will.
Get going.
I will get going.
That's a left impression, right? I just want to touch on the ladder participation we just brought up, because I was reflecting on my own work, just going through doing 2, doing 4, and then doing with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in light of what I do, doing 2 and doing 4 to me is non-collaborative work. And a lot of the work we do is collaborative, whether it's with other organizations or networks or with our participants themselves. That was a quick little reflection there, but you'll hear more about that when I go into the nitty-gritty of what I actually do. So good afternoon, everyone. I think we're in the afternoon, just barely. So there's a bunch of you in person. I'm not just talking to a wall, but there's a bunch in person and some of you online. I hope you can hear me clearly. I'm Hayden. I am the men's worker at the Kingston Neighbourhood group, and I've been working with King for about 4.5 years now. So it's a good time to reflect on those years and think about the work that I've done and how it's grown since then. So as a men's worker at a community centre, I suppose to round up what I do is I run programs for men. I am a referral for men in the community. I network with other organisations on collaborative aspects for outcomes for men. And I also do events and excursions, and I just give men opportunities to be. So their opportunities start with attending our programs first and foremost. So when they come through the doors of Kang, that's their first opportunity to be a part of something else. And if they've come along their journey there, they then get more opportunities throughout the working process for us, but also for them to become better versions of themselves. Up there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, fine.
If I could see the person. Oh, that will be really helpful.
Oh.
Yeah,
Um,
just keep filling time.
yeah, so-
now that we've got a relationship where I just tell
Guys
you
got
tell you
20
what to
minutes
do.
with me, man. So get strap in.
Have we passed?
So first and foremost, my
Hey,
work
you
is
can-
structured around my programs that I run. I'm good to use the
You
arrow
can- you
keys
can use
here.
the arrow key. I think you've proven yourself capable of using the arrow keys.
That's another mansplaining. I'll show you how to use the arrow keys.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, so my work is structured around my programs. So the programs are first and foremost what I do on a week-to-week basis. And I have 4 programs now, which keeps me busy in my week. So the first program is called the Great Mates Meet. We run every Friday morning. So I just attended my own program and then ducked out after I finished the barbecue there. But the purpose of a group like that is to meet up at a singular space for guys to just share and connect and just to be themselves. So we don't force anything out of them. We just get them chatting how they would normally chat if they were to meet up at, say, the pub. And we provide food and snacks for them, which is another great lure for men. So yeah, it's a space where men can support each other organically and just through typical conversation. We classify it as peer-to-peer support. So I'm not a psychologist or a counselor or anything like that, but I do sit there and listen to them as another bloke. And they may lean on me for things because of that reason, because they see me as an equal. They get to open up over the time that they've been attending. They get to get that sort of genuine, more genuine, holistic, brotherly or mateship sort of support. And I encourage that with all my blokes. So, you know, if we have normal conversations, it's usually about the footy or about what they've been doing for the past week. But then sometimes they will talk about some important things that go on in their lives. And that's when another guy across the table might chime in and say, hey, yep, I totally agree with you, or my condolences, I've been there, that sort of thing. And that's the real organic sort of meat of the program.
Can I just ask, what are the demographics that are coming?
Yeah, so because it is a Friday morning, you're going to get your elderly gentlemen, your retirees, guys that have been pushed out of work early due to work injury. We get a good homeless population of blokes that rock up there. We've had guys that have rocked up fresh out of prison, and where else is a guy to go when he's starting from ground zero, and so forth. So that's your general group, but we still have a pretty diverse age group as well as cultural background between them all. And today we had 25 guys under one roof, just having a chat, and that was a low number for us recently. So we've been hitting 30s now lately, which is a good problem to have. But yeah, so it's just a culmination of a big group of gentlemen from all kinds of walks of life. We have guys that are 80 plus there that have participated in the wars. We've had guys that have been through the justice system, and guys that are living rough, and all of these wild perspectives clash, and sometimes it's not pretty, but we get through it together, and that's what really makes it apart from entertaining. Very important for these men to get together.
Can I just ask how they all find out about it?
Yeah, so with men, and this goes for all my programs, it's their spouses and their partners and the women in their lives who are much better networkers by nature, who will find out about these programs, whether it's via social media, word of mouth or whatever, and then they'll also be motivators. Exactly. You're also pushing them to attend. So that's Great Mates Meet. It's been going for about 9 years now, including before when I started with them. And it's an
Can I
incredible,
just ask a quick question? Who's funding the program?
yeah, so CAPS and community development,
Okay.
they fund that directly, yeah.
Could you just tell us what CAPS, so we've got people from interstate online, so
Yeah.
can you tell us what CAPS?
I don't know what CAPS is.
What's CAPS?
It's Community Association Family Support. So,
That a government department,
yes,
or
state government.
state government.
State
Okay.
Yeah, so.
I was gonna
it's
say
funded
family
from-
services.
yeah, So it's funded from the Department of.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
So Great Mates is definitely the cornerstone of my work. It's the center of what I do. Everything else has come from Great Mates because we started with Great Mates as our one men's group. The next group I'd like to talk about is Dad's Time. So Dad's Time operates like a play group, but for dads. And we don't call it a play group because it fits out of the boundaries of what a play group is defined as. So play groups, if you're familiar with, they're typically run during your weekday mornings, 0 to 5 ages. Obviously, both gender parents are welcome to attend, but what men find or assume is that it's going to be predominantly mothers there. So this is a big barrier for men attending these programs. And if they're not already working during the week anyway, which most blokes are, we're still pretty stubborn with our gender roles. So that's just how it is. So we started Dad's Time with the idea that this was an existing problem. And so we made a dad's program that runs every Saturday morning during school term. So it's out of your typical work hours and it's just for dads. That being said, mums do rock up and that's totally fine. The dads do not care. They're more chill than you think. So once again, that's your mums mostly referring these dads to these groups, or if mums are connecting with Kang during the week, they will hear about Dad's Time as an alternative for hubby and whatnot, and then they'll push him along to that. So it keeps the family engaged.
Let's ask, did the Dad's Time happen after the barbecue had started?
Yeah,
And did that grow out of, how did that come about?
yeah,
Can you
yeah.
tell us a bit of that?
So it's just identifying a need for men that we had acknowledged that who the audience that was attending Great Mates Meet on the Fridays was of a certain type of demographic, so older, unemployment, that sort of thing. And we were thinking more working class audience, and as well as making it more children and family focused rather than just for blokes, because that is a big part of Kang. So we like to please the whole family dynamic. So that's sort of how that came about. And what you get is not only is it a group for children like your play groups are, but it's also a group for the guys. So the dads and their kids are attending in tandem. The kids are off playing, or we've got activities planned for them to play with, and dads are chatting to each other. And it's really good conversations that you get out of that. It's talking about what it's like being dad, first of all. So the struggles of fathering, whether it's within this environment and in this economy, so stretching yourself thin as a father, or just being a first-time parent. And then you have some more veteran dads out there that have got 3 or 4 kids and they can sort of impart some of that wisdom to you as a first-time dad of a 2-year-old, for example, going through stages of development and questioning, is that normal? Am I doing a good job? And then other dads are like, mate, you're on top of it. You know, even asking those questions proves you're doing a good job to me.
That you have told me in the past, because I don't go to the group, but know how, they're virtually like walking kiosks, and some of the fathers are going through separation and, the courts and, so,
There's a lot of discourse about relationship issues. We've had dads that have since separated from while starting the group, and despite the separation or the lack of custody that they've been granted to see their children, they still attend the dad's group just as a dad, just for that support, and just because they've got an established network with other dads there to hang out with dads. So it does raise a few questions for the little ones, like why aren't your kids with us and stuff, but then that sort of does encourage some, I think, healthy early discussions around that. There's also gives me a chance, as someone who hasn't particularly been burned by women before, to dispel some of the. I'm not saying I'm open to it. I'm just saying that a lot of these blokes do feel burned from the situations that have unfolded, whether it's been a custody issue or something personal between him and the ex-partner, this is how men tend to become burned with women and change their perceptions of women in general and relationships with them. And so it's an opportunity for me and my co-facilitator there to then have discussions with them and bring that outside perspective in, that this is just sometimes these things happen and this is not all women. Just to bring a bit of healthy balance to the conversation. And other guys will say that too to them. So, you know.
And then would you be doing referral pathways with some of those men? So,
Yep. So some men do obviously come from referrals from other organisations first and foremost. So we're not always just picking them off the street somehow. But when we do have conversations with these guys and they're identifying issues to me or telling me things that they need help with, I might go, oh mate, look, that's not within Kang's capabilities, but we might be able to do this for you. And the magic of a men's group and a dad's group is men help each other out within the group. So if you're looking for someone to move your house of furniture, and normally as an organisation, you're going to have to call around, a guy's just going to go, mate, I'll just chuck it in my trailer, I'll sort it out for you. And I've got multiple examples of that where guys have like been affected by Cyclone Alfred, for example, and other blokes from the group have come over and helped move their stuff or help do handyman work rather than having to go through official channels which would be a slower process, it would cost money. And then this is obviously the fruits of the labour of these guys developing positive relationships in the program. So they are a network in of themselves. And then of course there's the benefit of these guys becoming friends within the group. So what happens is, for example, you could have a guy attending my men's group or dad's group that doesn't get out of the house. Isolation for men is a big deal. And eventually you'll notice, oh, he's been invited to this other dad's kid's birthday party, bring your kids along, and now they're going over to each other's houses and making pizzas together. Obviously, this isn't just me pulling out of my ass. This is real examples I'm hearing from. So this is what I'm hearing from them. And now it's got to the point where dad's time exists as like freeze to then a later kick on at like Macca's. So these guys will go to Macca's afterwards. Kids will play on the playground. The guys will continue to chat after I've done my program in the morning. So it's just building friendships and stuff, especially for.
Do you think, and you might tell me to be quiet if you've got this in your presentation and you want to just keep going too, but do you think, I mean, that sort of those friendships and relationships building up like that, they don't just come out of nowhere. If you were running a really rigid service that created an environment of us and them, they probably wouldn't be feeling comfortable in themselves to build those relationships. What have you done like to lay the ground for that, I suppose? And
I will talk about that in a bit, but I will say essentially what I tapped on before is just collaborative rather than doing four, doing two.
Okay, I'll leave you to.
No, that's okay. Yeah, no, because I can, and we'll talk a lot about it. So
that's what we want to know. How you got to this point? Because
Well, it's Anyway,
okay.
My last program I'd like to talk about is the Midweek Men's Circle, and that's only been in existence for 9 months now. And that was once again an idea birthed from, okay, now we've got all these guys during the weekdays, we've got these dads that come in during the weekends. But what about the middle-aged younger blokes, the working class guys that don't necessarily have their own family or kids yet? Where are they supposed to go? Paul, Midweek Men's Circle, it's this program that we sort of brought up to encourage your working class guys to have a place to go to in the middle of their working week to decompress and to chat to other guys and hopefully come home feeling better and therefore being better members of their own household, so being better dads of themselves or being a better partner. So this is a Wednesday evening after hours, 5:30, 7:30 p.m. program. And initially when I opened this program, it did get a mixture of my great mates meet and dad's time clientele, and that's okay because it's giving them something to do. And if they want to come, then that's a good purpose. But over time, and it's only been 9 months, but over time, it's already shown us quite a few working class guys that I haven't met before coming in after work, exactly as we sort of hoped they would do. and check in with us. So I know a few guys now just by meeting them once a fortnight as this program runs, and they check in, they're in their high vis still. They smell like crap and they've just worked all day, and I'm like, mate, sit down, order us pizza and we'll have a chat, and they'll talk about, you know, man, work was rough today, or like, yeah, I don't want to go home grumpy and this and that, because he's just, you know, work just really does your head in, and then you're going to take it out on your family or just lash out, that sort of thing. And seeing them have a feed and then start having a laugh and stuff, and then go home being like, all right, see you guys, see you next time. Like, I think that's positive change. I can read that positive change on their face, if that makes sense. So I don't need to talk too much about that, because that group sort of just exists because of a gap that we identified. Yeah, and I think with all those groups together, I've sort of hit most demographics, age groups and all that. And from there, we can sort of talk about a lot of use the old cursor, there we go. A lot of the meat of the actual programs. So within these programs, given enough time, I've determined that just having the program is nice, but giving men opportunities to grow within the program is even better. So what we've done over the years is I've slowly introduced events and excursions for these blokes. So 2 years ago, we started going on our annual fishing trip out to Bribie Island. It is quite the expense, hence annually, but it's also an exciting opportunity for them to sort of mark on their calendars and look forward to as the year rolls by. And it gives some of these blokes opportunities that they've never had before. So we've had guys that have never been on a boat, never held a rod in their hand. They've never left Logan, as far as I know, or they've told me. And taking them,
organise a bust.
Exactly, yeah. So we get them all to meet up in space, get a big coach for them, and we go out together, almost like a field trip. It's really cute. I call it the geriatrics field trip.
Workplace health and safety. We won't go there.
No, workplace health and safety doesn't exist within my role. Anyhow, so giving men opportunities that they're not normally allowed to be afforded the opportunity of, whether it's literally they can't afford to do the stuff normally, or that just time constraints, or they just haven't thought of it, because some guys get so stuck in their head about what their world is, and they think, oh wait, there's a whole like slew of things outside of my routine that I can actually try out for the first time, and I might love it. So it's a beautiful thing, and I've done the same thing with my dad's group, where we've started taking them and the kids on excursions at the end of every term. With midweek men's circle, I'm aware that State of Origin's coming up, and it's on a Wednesday night, so we might get the projector up for one of those nights and let it run a bit later, just for the sake of putting on a game show for the guys. So it's identifying what works within your programs for accessibility needs as well, and what guys generally like to do. You know, I'm not going to bring the crochet kit out and hope that they're all going to give it a go. I'm not against that personally. But
To do, isn't it, crochet?
from what I know, you know, from like. I did tell you to buckle up for the mansplain, so if you're not fastened by now, that's your problem. Yeah,
About 5 more minutes and.
totally. Gotcha, that's fine. I gotcha. Thank you for the heads up. Yeah, so this is all about just building connection with these guys. So these programs, they merely act as a foundation. It's a base point of touch, and through accessing the programs, you're then accessing the rest of Kang services as well. When you feel comfortable to come back to your programs, you might start being inquisitive about, oh, what else does Kang offer? So we've got guys that go to sewing group as well. So despite my remarks earlier, there are men who sew. Exactly. Well, we also got guys that go to our Tai Chi, computer club. We got cross pollinators, as I call them, men that attend dad's time, midweek men's circle. So giving them just more to do within their schedules and so forth. And then from there, they become more receptive to going to other groups in Logan. So going to other centres and organisations and other men's groups that I recommend to them. Speaking of, I do have a project. I'll just grab one out here if that's okay. Yeah. Another part of my work, this is a fun part of my job. Well, most of my job's fun, but this is particularly fun, is I get to make cool little projects for men's health. And this is a calendar that I've made for this year that highlights key dates for men's health in Logan. And it also, on each month, has a different organisation based in Logan that offer men's services, whether they're men's programs, men's groups, or they do some sort of work to support men in the community. And all of their information is on there as far as contacting them and what they're about goes. And this is from me attending these programs myself and making sure that I can accurately describe what they are for guys, because that's an issue too. If you've just got it on a website somewhere like a directory and it's just 2 sentences, here's a number, good luck.
Can I ask, with that particular example, you know, if we think about that continuum of done for, done to, done to, done for, done with, was that a co-designed, done with activity?
Everything is done with, so.
Okay, so can you talk
Yeah.
a little bit like that? That would be awesome.
Yeah, so.
I mean, I really did think when you opened it up, we were going to have pictures of the men, like in the.
Yeah.
I was more thinking of the fireman style colours.
Yeah.
But I mean, this seems
To be determined.
useful, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Sausage
think,
rolls, great.
I think we did have our first calendar last year. It was identified as like something I wanted guys to sink their teeth into as a bit of ownership. So I did
Yeah.
have men from my program on the calendar each month. And that was like, wow, I'm Mr. May. Look at me go. And they'll take it home and they'll show it off to people, that sort of thing. But I wanted to expand on that and do with other orgs, because for men's work, as emergent as it is, I take any chance I can get to collaborate with other men's workers and other organisations to see where we can land. And this was my idea, to incorporate them, bring people into their space, and also bring faces to the men who read about them. That sort of collaborative approach where we're encouraging them to join things. And I'm happy to have a chat about these groups personally to men, because I've attended them myself and made sure that I can vouch on that personal level. Yeah.
Just as we sort of wrap up, it's an incredible, you can sort of see that things have rolled on and you've created all these other programs on the back of sort of one program, which is amazing. I mean, in terms of it being collaborative, you say, and how do you go about that? How do you go about having conversations about like the fishing trip idea or the, you know, the design of actually what you do? You've said you'd make things more accessible. If the state of origin zone, you'll lengthen the time, you'll change the day, whatever. But like the nitty gritty of how you actually attract and keep a group of 50, 35 men or something. What's the special sauce, Hayden, in terms of, like, we've seen that there are those qualities about being humble as a person coming into the space and meeting these people, which I don't know, humble's the word. No, I'm joking. But being genuine and these sorts of qualities, and being genuinely curious as well about what people want and empathetic about their situations. I mean, what do you think has been really important?
I think being genuine, empathetic, inviting, welcoming, and all of that stuff is a pretty universal way to make a space, to make something feel collaborative in nature. But I think specifically for what I do, I give them quite a voice, maybe too much at times, to have a say in how we design the space that we use for our programs, in what we want to do as far as activities or events go. And I use that as almost like a feedback loop to then keep that rolling. So I might, for example, ask you guys as a group of old blokes, say, hey, what do you guys reckon about fishing this year? Do you want to go again? And they're like, yeah, all right, let's do that. And I'm like, cool, but what if we want to do 3 smaller ones instead rather than one big annual trip? And they'd be like, oh, I do like going out on the boat quite a bit, but I do see how it could be beneficial if we all gave more people a chance, blah, blah. So we're just having these conversations. I'm bouncing back with them. This is sort of the sort of thing I do with co-workers.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we can mistake our participants as doing for once again. And making plans not behind their backs, but without their knowledge. And a lot of my work is just based off of that feedback loop. So even if it's like the food choices, I'm like, how's the food today, fellas? And I might be like, yeah, you know, bit of this, bit of that. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll keep that in mind. And we don't take offense, just drop the ego, you know, this,
So
Yeah.
it's a really ongoing, informal sort of.
it's a constant ongoing
just sort of
process.
relationship that
Yeah.
you build.
And it's also a way of avoiding other methods like surveying and feedback forms and any sort of paperwork. Guys I don't think many people do per se, but
Yeah.
we as professionals know how to get on with it.
We
Yeah.
love ticking box.
So can I ask Hayden, because it's something that I've kind of really thought about a lot, and I'm probably one of those people that do like the surveys and, you know,
Yep.
like I have to have my evidence. So if I was a bloke, I'm living in Logan and I find out through social media or I find out through my partner and I come into like a men's circle on 5:30 on a, you know,
Yep.
what am I presented with? Like, is
Yep.
there a theme?
That-
Or is it, you know,
So if I was, yeah,
different kind of stuff?
if I was in that
Yeah,
gentleman's shoes, I would be seeing a group of guys already established and I'm an outsider coming into their space. And I would feel worries about whether I fit in, whether I have anything to add to the conversation. And this is how men attend once and then never come back,
yeah,
or just see it and then
Yeah.
leave. So what I do as a facilitator is I observe that this is a new person and I take the time intentionally to go introduce myself, have a chat with them, find out a bit about them, break that barrier and that stigma that they've got hanging over their head about, well, just the self-doubt, I guess it is. And then once they've sat down and chilled out, I sort of see them sort of more organically participate in conversation. They've already been welcomed by the person who runs the program. So, you know, once you're in the group,
and would
then
you
it goes from
then,
there.
for your, like, for the men's circle, would you then say have a topic for that night? Or is it just, hey, blokes, we're just gonna have a chat?
No,
How's things
let
been?
them, I don't guide the ship per se. I provide the space for them to be, but I don't guide the ship outside of asking them pretty typical how you going type
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
And they will be more than happy to
Yeah.
tell you about what's been going on, because for me, I'm a busy guy that's seeing people every day and working, and then I'm home with my partner and I've got my friends and my family, but these guys are at home 6 days out of 7 days that they're not at that program, just sitting there watching the television or reading, and then that they may not act like it, but they're really keen to come in and share these stories that they've just been
Yeah,
sitting on, or just listen, be part of something in a social measure. Yeah.
thanks.
I notice bringing this. I think our centre is very welcoming, so it starts the front desk.
It does.
Come up on the front desk is very welcoming.
Yeah.
Welcome that. So when we know how valuable the men's work is, we know that helping men make healthy families. So as workers, we try to really make our lives feel special. And we try.
Yeah. You do an excellent job, all of you.
We connect them in, but if we can,
Yeah.
so that it's just not Hayden's.
Yeah.
People come in, like we'll have a yarn in the kitchen or, and I think, our leader, comes from the top, like where, that's.
Yeah.
We work, most of our groups, I think we're very, that's how we work.
I think it's the energy that Kim gives and the energy that we all give
Too,
to.
like you've, as you can see with Hayden, I mean, you and Alan, do have, qualifications and all the rest of it, but it's having that right person. That makes, as I'm sure you would too, so, but I think that's a big thing, because it gets like the Wild West for us at times, but that's how we are.
And I think also valuing the time that it's like being slow, but it's not.
But look what it's
It's valued in.
it's self-perpetuating though, right? Like that's what I've heard today is not having an agenda when you're there has allowed them to sort of raise these things to I'm assuming that need for the midweek men's circle came out because they were sharing all of this stuff and you were going, oh, hang on a minute, these guys are not doing much else or they need to decompress at this time.
Yep.
So it's, yeah.
It's
really
picking up on cues and observations, you know, I could have conversations with them in my other programs
Mm.
and I might be like, so what are your plans tonight? So, you know, once I go home, once I finish work, I just go home and that's it. Or like, oh, I can't make this program because it's too early, I'm working.
Mm.
And those sort of drive the decisions, which is,
Yeah.
it's a feedback loop, but they're not cognizant of it necessarily.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
I am, and well, usually I am directly asking them
Mm.
about any possible feedback, but not
Mm.
using those words.
And sorry, I don't know if I interrupted you, you're about to
No,
say
yeah,
something.
sorry, and I interrupted everyone.
No, that's all good. I just had a question because, you know, there's obviously lots of work that you're doing
Mm.
and it's lots of work in this space. And it's something that obviously we've kind of had a conversation about to tap into as well within our space in the early years. And so some of the conversations that you're having with some of these blokes around, you know, in that time, is there anything that they're talking about in terms of having concerns with like child development and stuff like that, you know, like ways or there's other those types of conversations that you're hearing, and then
Yep.
is there plans, I guess, to take on those conversations or those topics and then implement some type of like a child health nurse maybe might come in and go, hey, would you like to have like a child health nurse on site for the stats time to have any questions? And then pretty sure it's something that you've already kind of had in the back of your mind as like,
I have my first student.
oh, okay. It's your baby.
She has distanced herself from us for a good reason.
So that's something like you're
Yeah.
thinking about like later on down the track, because I know building those relationships and that trust
Yeah.
is really important, and just
Yeah.
getting those folks there in the first place is the start. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I may, even if it's not something I'm actively thinking about, I'm totally open to suggestions if they're coming, especially from our own participant base, because it's for them and we're bringing it right. So these guys, when they do talk about developmental concerns, fathering concerns as a whole, it does sort of have a way of supporting each other within the immediate space, because it's fellow dads talking about being dads, and that can come from a perspective of being a dad as a single dad, a dad of many kids, or a dad with kids with certain disabilities and so forth. So yeah, it's really good to see them mostly be able to support each other. But when there's instances where, say, it's usually practical things where it's like, oh man, I can't afford my kid's dental, that's where we can then maybe find ways to help support and, like you said, like bring people out, because I would love to do that too. I saw the nurses down there this morning actually, and I was like, oh, I know they're probably not the immediate people to talk to get them involved, but I really wanted to put a word in. Yeah.
We've got an activity to move on to as well, which is very much about this. So I wonder, it is a long time since I said 5 minutes. do you have a last kind of
Off the rip, sure, why not? Let's go. Well, thanks. First, I do like to thank people for listening to the work I do. I'm joking about the mansplaining part. I am a man and I'm explaining my work, but it is important that I share what I do to as many people as possible, because the work is very much emerging still. And any chance or any opportunity I see with other services popping up in or out of Logan, I've travelled out of Logan to talk with people, is a chance for me to educate myself on bettering my work and also to share my wisdom with others. So I hope that helps you guys in an imparting of wisdom sort of sense. And I hope that sort of changes our perspectives a bit on the importance of men's work and work for fathers as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hayden. And yeah, not just on that, but also on that perspective of how to really genuinely engage the community. I think it's quite incredible.